Hello?
Hey, can you check and make sure it started?
Yes, it started.
Okay, and you're able to get on?
Yep,
Okay,
I think we're good.
all right, thanks. Bye.
Yeah, there's wireless 4. Yep, check wireless 4. Hey, 1, 2.
Ingrid, you tell me when you're ready. Pastor Anna, you got the Zoom on? Okay, you tell me when you're ready, okay, and we'll get started.
Is anybody on Zoom here? Okay, you need to turn your mic down, your speakers down. Okay. I'm going to try to get on my phone just so I can.
Ooh, I almost fell down. Zoom is ready? No. We're going to get started in a moment. We're just waiting for the Zoom to join. We're going to get started in a moment. We're just waiting for the Zoom to get hooked up. If you haven't signed in, please make sure you do so at the white table in the Epiphany Center.
Oh, I see him.
Whoa. Are we good? Can you please let us know on the Zoom if you can hear us? How do they let you know? Type in the comment or give us a thumbs up if you can hear on the Zoom call. Well, Anna's logging in back there. How we doing, Roy? Right here? It was in my way, actually. Can you hear us on the Zoom? Please raise your hand or type in the comments and affirm that you can hear.
They.
Can you please confirm on the Zoom that you can hear us? Thumbs up if you can hear.
That's the only way for them to hear.
As
I'm
long
just
as
not
you-
going to talk a lot.
Okay, I think we can get started. Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to welcome you all to the annual congregation meeting for 2022 and call this meeting to order. My name is Kristen Hall, and I'm your Congregational Council President. I'm so happy to be here. Last night I saw a remarkable show at York. There's one more performance left. If you get a chance to go this afternoon, I encourage it. But it marked the first live theater in the York Auditorium in 818 days. That's a significant part of the high school experience for most of those students, all of those students, and no doubt a very different artistic and academic experience will forever shape those kids. At Epiphany, we've been blessed to worship both virtually and in person during these last 818 days, and it is so wonderful to see so many of you here in person. This meeting took place only by Zoom last year, so major progress to be here together, and we do welcome those who are joining us by Zoom today as well. I have no doubt that this year will bring even more personal and in-person experiences for Epiphany as we rejoice in our renewed building. I appreciate your presence and your participation today and your commitment to Epiphany every day. Before we move forward with the business of our annual meeting, I'd like to call upon Pastor Ron to open this meeting in prayer.
Am I muted? I'm muted.
Let us pray. Grace our meeting, O God, with the gift of your Holy Spirit, the Spirit who has guided the church from the beginning, the Spirit of our risen Lord Jesus, the Spirit
This
who
meeting
sends
is being
us as
recorded.
healers and restorers of your beloved world. You are the source of our life together. You are the rock and cornerstone. You have called us for such a time as this. You've called your servants to ventures of which we cannot see the ending, by paths as yet untrodden, through perils unknown. Give us faith to go out with good courage, not knowing where we go, but only that your hand is leading us and your love supporting us. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you. Helping me conduct this morning's meeting will be several very important people. I hereby appoint Tom Connolly as our parliamentarian, Ingrid Durham, who's our council vice president is stepping in today as secretary. Thank you, Ingrid. And our tellers, Doug Johnson, Ann Edward, and Rodney Durham. Our Constitution requires that 50 voting members be present to make up a quorum. I now call on our parliamentarian, Tom Connolly, to let us know if there is a quorum present. Thank you, Tom. I declare that a quorum is present and we can proceed with the meeting. Our first order of business is the adoption of the agenda. The agenda for our meeting is found on page 48 of the annual report booklet. You all received the annual report booklet by email this week. To summarize that agenda, today we'll be approving minutes from previous congregational meetings, electing council members and other critical roles that serve the church, approving the annual report, which you all received by email, and for those of you at home, you may want to have that for your reference today if you're listening. You'll hear from the pastors on their vision, we'll have a Rejoice and Renew update, and then we'll discuss and adopt the 2022 budget and a new constitution. I would now like to entertain a motion that we adopt the agenda as proposed. Chip Johnson? Is that Bill? Yes, sorry. Chip Johnson first, Bill Edwards seconds the motion. Any discussion on the agenda? If there's no discussion, or if there isn't any discussion, so that's ended, I now call for a vote to accept the agenda as presented. All in favor, please say yes. All against, please say no. The motion carries. We will proceed with the agenda. Okay, next, approval of the minutes. The annual congregational meeting on January 31st, 2021. The minutes of the 2021 annual congregational meeting, which was held on Zoom, are found on page 49 of your annual report booklets. I will now entertain a motion that those minutes be approved as they are presented in the booklet. May I get a motion? Judy Samuelin first, and Bill Edwards second. The motion, and now I'd like to ask for a vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes of the last annual meeting, please say yes. All against, please say no. The motion carries and the minutes are approved. We had a special congregational meeting on May 23rd of 2021. The minutes for that special meeting held on that date are found on page 53 of your annual report. I will now entertain a motion that those minutes be approved as presented. May I get a motion? Your names, please. And a sec. Did you get that? Barbildine? And a second? Okay, any discussion on the special congregational meeting minutes? If there's no discussion, I will call for a vote. All in favor of accepting and approving the minutes from the special congregational meeting held on May 23rd, 2021. All in favor, please say yes. All against, please say no. The motion carries and those minutes are approved. Thank you. We will now move ahead with the elections portion of our agenda. First, we will have the members of our Congregational Council. It is time to elect members to replace departing members on our Congregational Council. There are pictures and biographies of the nominees on page 56 and 57 of your booklet report. At this time, I'd like, if there are any of these incoming council members present, I'd love you to stand. Bill Edwards. Christian Ewald, Larry Magnuson, Dave McGowan, and Jill Mueller. Are there any additional nominees from the floor for Congregational Council? I'll now entertain a motion that nominations be closed. Judy Samuelin? Did you get that? Okay, two more motions. I'll now call for a vote to close the nominations. All in favor, please say yes. All opposed, please say no. The motion passes and the nominations for Congregational Council are now closed. I would now like to entertain a motion that this slate of nominees be elected all at once by acclamation. I have a parliamentary question. I should accept the slate for each individual piece, right? One, not the Senate Assembly, right? So we have to vote 4 times. Right, but not combined with council, not a full slate. Do each slate independently, right? Yes. Okay. So we're accepting a motion that this slate of nominees be elected all at once by acclamation. Can I get a motion? Barbara O'Toole. And a second? Bill Edwards. I declare, okay, so if vote, all in favor of accepting the slate, please say yes. All opposed, please say no. I declare that our slate of 5 nominees for Congregational Council are elected by acclamation. Congratulations to the new council members, and thank you in advance for your service. We will now go through the same process for the voting members of the Metropolitan Chicago Synod Assembly. Those nominees are also included in your, I forgot the page number, but they're in a similar page. Page 56 and 57 of your annual report. The Synod Assembly nominees are Kristen Hall, Paul Remington, and Barb Remington. I will now call for a vote, or do we have to go through all 4 motions? Are there additional nominees for Synod Assembly participation? I'll now call for a vote to close the nominations. And do we just go ahead and vote, or we need to go through all 4? It seems so inefficient. And then vote, okay. I'll ask for a motion that we close the nominees and proceed with the vote. All in favor say yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so I need a motion to accept the nominees for Synod Assembly. Tony Hall, Doug Johnson. Let's see. Since they're in the motion, let's vote. All in favor say yes. All opposed say no. Okay, the motion passes and the nominations are closed. I will now entertain a motion that this slate of nominees be elected all at once by acclamation. May I get a motion? Barb O'Toole. Barb O'Dean. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. All opposed, please say no. I declare that Kristen Hall, Paul Remington, and Barb Remington will be our Synod Assembly nominees. We will now move forward with the members of the 2022 Nominating Committee. I'd like to entertain a motion. Any additional nominations from the floor for the Nominating Committee? If not, I'll entertain a motion that the nominations be closed. Oh, I'm sorry. The candidates are Marty Jensen, Doug Johnson, Chip Johnson, and Mark Redfern. And their bios and pictures are included on page 56 and 57 of the annual report. Any nominations from the floor for Nominating Committee? If not, I will entertain a motion that the nominations for Nominating Committee be closed. Tony Hall. Bill Edwards. Since the number of nominees equals the number of vacant seats, I will entertain a motion that this slate of nominees be elected all at once by acclamation. Oh, sorry. All in favor of closing the nominations for Nominating Committee, please say yes. All opposed, please say no. The motion passes and the nominations are closed. Since the nominees equal the number of vacant seats, I will entertain a motion that this slate of nominees be elected all at once by acclamation. May I get a motion? Anna Wick, Tony Hall. Any discussion? Anna Wick. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor, please say yes. All opposed, please say no. I declare that Marty Jensen, Doug Johnson, Chip Johnson, and Mark Redfern are closed for the nominating committee. And there is one additional nomination that was not included in the annual report packet, but we would like to entertain a motion to select Chuck Sutton to join the endowment committee. May I get a motion? Paul Remington, Judy Samuelin. Any discussion? I'll now call for a vote. Any nominations from the floor? I'll now call for a vote to close the nominations. All in favor, please say yes. All opposed, please say no. The motion passes and nominations are closed. We will now entertain a motion to accept Chuck Sutton for the endowment committee. May I get a motion? Paul Remington. Barb O'Toole. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of Chuck Sutton for endowment committee, please say yes. All opposed, please say no. I declare that Chuck Sutton has been appointed to the endowment committee. And that concludes our elections for today's annual meeting. I will move on with the approval of the 2021 annual reports. The reports included from our council officers, staff, and all of the committees, and those programs are found on pages 5 through 46 of your book of annual reports. I'll now entertain a motion that the 2021 annual reports be accepted as presented. May I get a motion? Chip Johnson, in a second. Tony Hall. Any discussion on the annual reports? I will now ask for a vote on accepting the 2021 annual reports. All in favor, please say yes. All opposed, please say no. Paul. The motion carries and the 2021 annual reports are accepted. I'll now move on to the pastor vision and mission section for 2022. I will call on Pastor Feltman and Pastor Anna to share their vision for the mission in the coming year.
I went too long this morning. Too many fishing stories and bad jokes. So I want to be fairly short with my comments in terms of a vision. First of all, I want to say thank you to a number of people. One is, I want to say thank you to Kristen Hall. Kristen has learned that when the pastor says to you, "Oh, there's nothing to it," he or she is lying. But Kristen has really been a trooper. She had only attended one in-person council meeting when she agreed to be president. And so, Kristen, thank you so much. You have led us in our council in a difficult time, and I appreciate that. I also want to say thank you to our outgoing members who have also served in a difficult time. Sam Kosiak, Doug Johnson, Marty Jensen, Vince Radel, and Amy Vandenbroek. Help me thank them for a great deal of creativity, as you can imagine, was required as we sought to lead this congregation. I just want to share one word in terms of, as I think about what my hope is for the year to come, it is re-engagement. That's the word that comes to mind, re-engagement. It's my hope for us that we will be able to, first of all, have more personal engagement with one another. I know that we are not out of the woods with COVID, but thankfully we are at least in a spot where most of us feel more comfortable getting out and engaging with one another. And one of the things, and I'm not saying anything that you haven't already thought about, pandemic caused us to draw into ourselves. And that's tough on a church. It's tough because the lifeblood of the church is our personal engagement with one another. And so, personal engagement is kind of the lifeblood. It's what the church community is all about. So I hope that you will think about ways in which you can re-engage in your congregation in ways that feel comfortable. I hope that you'll find your place. Maybe it's the same place where you were before pandemic messed everything up. Maybe it's something new. But I hope that you will find your place. You've heard me say it before, that if you don't do what God's calling you to do in this place, it's not going to get done. And some people say, well, somebody else will do it. Well, no, they can't do it because they're doing what God has called them to do. So I encourage you to find your place, find what God is calling you to do. I'm really excited that we're going to be able to re-engage our congregation in the wider community this year. Now that we're finished with we're not finished. Are we, Chip? We're not finished. But now that we're really close to being finished, we're going to be able to invite outside groups in. And that too is one of the real bloodlines of this congregation, is being open to the community. I know that they're going to be excited about the new things that they see here. We're also going to be able to re-engage with Lincoln School. I'm so excited about that. We had come to have such a great relationship with Lincoln, and I just can't wait. We'd have 300 kids and parents walk by the front doors of our church every day as they went over there, and I'm really excited to be able to re-engage with them before they close down. Pastor Anna and I met with a woman who is going to be their new principal, and we're really excited about that. So I invite you, find ways to re-engage in whatever way that feels comfortable and feels meaningful for you. Pastor Anna?
Good morning again, everyone. Happy to report we have 28 people listening online or in the phone right now, so you're not alone at all. What a year. Pastor Anna's kind of echoed or has shared the COVID feelings, which everyone's tired of talking about anyway. But a question that has guided me more so as I grow into being a pastor, and especially right now, it's really a two-part question as I work in the office and behind the scenes. What does the congregation need, and what does the congregation not need? So I want to just speak briefly about that in terms of the three program areas where I focus, which is faith formation, community outreach, and welcoming communications, and then just have a few general remarks as well. So under faith formation, since we do not have a 10 hours a week faith formation director at this time, all Sunday school is happening through me and the amazing Sunday school volunteer team. I'm coordinating curriculum and they are doing the rest. So really, really grateful for them. And confirmation in high school's kind of been up and down with attendance, but confirmation has been strong. A lot of you know that I was really looking forward to getting us to go back to the ELCA Youth Gathering this summer, which unfortunately this week was canceled again for the second year in a row, after just a lot of difficult conversation and too many logistics to work out. So I'm a little down about that, but I do think it's for the best that that's not happening, because there's just too many other things going on. And I am excited to take a group of kids to work camp again this summer. That was one of the highlights of last summer, even in the midst of COVID year number 2, was just to be able to take them to work camp still. Pastor on in adult education, one of the joys of that this year is that we've been engaging our shut-ins. Bill Freiberg, Lila Peters have been regularly attending our Wednesday night Bible study, folks who don't really get to church as much easily anymore, and that has been a really great blessing. So we're grateful for that, because I think what we need is connection. We have been mourning kind of the lack of being able to hold like food and drink events, because I think more than anything what we need in this time is just time to relax and connect and get to know each other a little bit better, especially as we have newer members coming in. So we're hopeful for that in the future. In terms of future ideas for adult Christian education, I've always wanted to think about something for parent support, and I have a few other little ideas as well that I hope to keep working on. Community outreach, this congregation just constantly overflows in its generosity in terms of your direct donations to our area food pantries, as you can see once again outside. I am happy to report, and I will need a little help after this, that this week we finally got matched with our refugee family, and Karen Norquist and I will be taking your goods to them tomorrow. It's parents and a 2.5-year-old. They are Afghan refugees living in Rogers Park. So most of the refugees that are being resettled now are going to Rogers Park. If you would like to volunteer more with Exodus and that program, they ask you to go through a training, and then you do like what's called a new neighbor program, where you would just go and hang out with the refugee family once a week for 3 months. If anybody's interested in that and wants to see if there are opportunities in DuPage, please feel free to let me know. But we're really glad we were able to help out with that. That was very popular. Many of you may have seen also that DuPage Pads is shifting its model and has purchased, I believe they have now officially purchased, a Red Roof Inn in Downers Grove. This is really good, especially for families that are able to be housed directly in the hotel. This means that the model of pads is changing, and that there are going to be different opportunities potentially for us to help. Right now, getting the food and hygiene items is huge, but there may be opportunities to bring meals in the future, and it'll again be in a more centralized location. So we're staying on top of that. I know this congregation has loved being involved in pads in the past, so I look to share more about that later. We already did a blood drive March 6th. As you've heard, there's a big blood shortage in our country right now, so we really want to make this a big one. So Sunday, March 6th, we're having a blood drive. I want to announce that now. In terms of welcome and communications, this year we updated our website, and I hope if you hadn't had a chance to check it out that you will after this meeting, because we have a new, fresher, more easily editable template and things to see. There's a lot of information on there about the congregation, so we're really excited about that. I'm trying to keep an eye on our social media accounts and working with Joan on our direct communication in terms of constant contact, emails, auto calls, and our newsletters. If you have feedback on that, please feel free to let me know. The Welcome and Communications Committee is also going to have a tent for St. Patrick's Day parade this year, and we're thinking about special initiatives for Easter and the fall. If you have ideas on that and want to join that committee, please feel free to let me know that as well. That's kind of the big question that I have for the congregation right now, and I think I echo what Pastor Ron said. Consider, and I said this in my annual report, consider your volunteer capacity and what you can do. We have a time and talent sheet now that we've been referring to, and we're really grateful for that. It would really be helpful to have a few new members on each of our committees and committee chairs. If you are feeling the gift of committee chairing, for many of our committees, like outreach, youth, Christian ed, maybe stewardship, right, Pastor Ron? We could use people who are willing to help us stay on top of all of these committee meetings and keep our congregation moving forward. Very boring, but very helpful in terms of our structure. So just ponder that, those of you who are listening online too. Again, we know so many of you give so much in so many different ways, and like Pastor Ron said, some of you are already doing the work that God has called you to do in this congregation, but I just share that as a need that I see right now. But we're really excited, a lot of good things going on, and I just want to thank all of, especially again, the Sunday school volunteers have been incredible, and all of the volunteers. Judy Samuelin has been there for us so many ways this year. She tallied up all the time and talent sheets. She's just kind of been there to help whenever we needed it. I think she's one of our volunteers of the year. She and Chip Johnson, volunteers of the year. But again, thanks to everybody for stepping in, for your support, and it continues to be just an absolute joy to serve this congregation and a great privilege. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Anna. Any questions for either of the pastors regarding their remarks? If not, I will move forward. Just want to make sure there aren't any. No. If not, I will move forward with an update from Chip Johnson on our Rejoice and Renew campaign. Chip served as the chair of our Renovation Building Committee and as the liaison to the architects and contractors. He's going to share a report on the campaign and the progress on the renovation project overall. Chip?
Good morning, all. It certainly has, or maybe it's afternoon now, but not quite. But this certainly has been an exciting time in the last 12, 15 months, let me tell you. The first thing I would like to do, though, is to thank Marty Jensen, Tom Connolly, Keely Witzel, and John Pozek, who helped in beginning all of the process and advice along the way. They really have been invaluable for that. We were extremely, Pastor did mention this during his sermon, but we were unbelievably lucky in selecting Archon, and I would certainly like to thank that committee and John Pozek, who led that drive. They have been just tremendous to work with. Gaspar Petrello and Brian Schmidt they're easy to work with. They follow up. They're here all the time, even when they don't have to be, as you heard. They've just been great. And Paul Pettit and Matt Casenza from Construction Inc., who managed the construction portion of it, they've just been outstanding. And I guess another person to thank also is Phil Darling and the Holy Rollers, because they have continued to spruce up the parts that are not in the project that we have. I have tried to keep the congregation up to date, pretty much, in the weekly announcements that went out during the service and with some pictures and all of that. The one that was in today's program actually is probably the most recent one and pretty accurate, so I don't think I have to repeat about that. I think the number one thing you need to know is that our budget, if you remember, was $2.85 million. And so we are over budget, which is not a surprise by any, considering what is going on with all of the pandemic situation and delays and all of that. However, the good thing is we are only 3.5% above budget right now. We'll probably end up a little under 5 by the end of the project. That's our projection for it. So I feel unbelievably good about that. We knew it would happen. We did make some changes. We made cutbacks. We added some things along the way that we felt were needed to the project as we moved along. I think I couldn't be prouder of everybody's support and how it has turned out so far. It's just an amazing amazing new look to our church. I'm just really proud of everyone for helping out and supporting it, as Ron talked about. The money is coming in. I'm going to let Pat can deal with that. I don't deal with the inflow of money. I deal with the outflow of money, which is maybe a lot easier job than anybody else. But I would, probably the most frustrating thing was probably dealing with the city of Elmhurst, to be real honest, and the requirements they came in with that you didn't expect. And right now I'm going over with one on them on some issues dealing with the fire system and all of that, and they want us to add some things, which are fine, but we're going to have to figure out how to do that, and so I've asked for an extension to be able to do that, and I'm assuming we will get that. But it's not super major, it's just as an expense we didn't expect. I don't know what else you would like to know. I mean, I can go over specific projects or specific things, but I don't think we need to do that unless you want it. But if anybody has any questions for me, we are on the downslide. There isn't any question about it. And it's going to be exciting come spring when we'll have some kind of, Ron's going to set up some kind of a big program for that when we do that. So, any questions? Follow up? Screaming, yelling, anything? Sure. Well, oh, I'm sorry. When is it going to be done? Is bluntly what it is. And the big items that we're waiting for, obviously the little things that, you have to replace some carpet, you have to do some more painting, you have to do, those kinds of things. The big item this week, Monday or Tuesday, the elevator should work. And it works now. But you can't use it till they check it out again for the final time, and the snow stopped them from coming out on this week. So I'm hoping Monday or Tuesday, then it will work, and then Anna can move all of her stuff from up there down to the LYO room and all of that. But there is that. The major change that we have to wait for is the switchgear, which was the new complete renovation, I will call it. Marty may have a better word for it, but a renovation of the electrical system, which will set us off for the next 50 years. And so that has come in. Not here, but it's with 4-Star Electric, who has to install it. The big issue, and that is actually the major thing. And so my guess is they're going to have to wait till warm weather, because you have to shut the building down for electricity for, 3 to 5 days, about a week, basically. And with ACC, we really want to make sure that we are keeping them here, so we need warmer weather, so they could do that. At least that's the hope. But I think we're looking probably, March maybe? I would think early spring is my hope, when we get into some upper 40s and 50 degrees. So that really is the major thing. So I'm really going to hope by about April 1st, and no April Fool meant there, but that will be the guess that I would have. There still are always going to be little things that come up, and some extra things that we don't know about maybe that we have to do.
Any further questions for Chip?
While Chip's up, let's give him a hand.
Oh. Thank you. It truly has been interesting.
Thank you, Marty. I was going to do that same thing. When Pastor Ron invited me to serve as council president, Chip was the outgoing council president, so I said, but Chip does what Chip does, right? Because I can't do that. So thank you, Chip, for continuing to lead this project, and it is an intense and important job. Next up, we have the discussion and adoption of the budget for 2022. So we'll turn to that next. The full budget proposed for 2022 is on page 59 of the annual report, particularly for those of you at home. Wait. So we're going to adopt the budget and then hear from Pat? No, the motion. If you have a... Oh, just the motion first, not the election. Okay. I'll now entertain a motion to adopt the budget for 2022 as proposed. During this discussion, we'll hear from Pat and open for discussion, but I'd like to have a motion to adopt the budget as proposed. Judy Samuelin, Anna Wick. To begin this discussion, and then we don't need to vote, so then we'll move forward. To begin this discussion, I will call on Pat Jones, who's our treasurer, and he will share some thoughts about the budget. Pat?
Just want to say it's been a lovely experience to be the treasurer for the last 2 years during the pandemic, as well as the capital campaign. I really appreciate the experience, and it was so hard. It was so hard for me not to nominate my replacement during the nominations. If you want to flip to page 2, that's the agenda that we'll go over today. So we'll look at the 2021 financial results and see how we compared to our budget. We'll also take a look at our balance sheet in terms of where we're at from a cash position, as well as where our assets and liabilities stood at year end. And then lastly, we'll take a look at the 22 recommended budget by council. On slide 3, this is our 2021 actuals for operating income. So we received in 2021 $560,000 versus a budget of $585,000. So we were just about $26,000 below budget. When you look at the different components, regular offerings below budget by $23,000, then our special offerings below budget by $3,000. The interesting thing is through November, we actually were $3,000 above budget. And then in December, our receipts were much lower than what we had anticipated. If you remember, we had a very light Christmas service. The Omicron variant was kind of at its height. And if you look at the bottom of the slide here, it really kind of shows where December 2021 ended from the month offerings versus the prior years. So this year, we received a little bit over $44,000. In December of 20, we received $69,000. Again, that was during the height of the pandemic. And then you look at December 18 and December 19 during the month of December, we received $90,000. Now, I thought the Grinch showed up, as I called Pastor Ron. I was like, what happened during the Christmas service? But, truly believe it's just a one-time event. If you looked online, I know my family, we did it online because we were just concerned. But, typically we have a lot of visitors. We receive a lot of money during the month of December. But, we were impacted from that, which caused that variance in our budget. On page 4, this is our year-to-date actuals for operating expenses. Again, I think the overall theme for the last 2 years has been Pastor Ron, Pastor Anna, and the church staff have managed the expenses very, very well. We spent $545,000 in 2021 versus a budget of $585,000. So we were $40,000 below budget. Our mission support expenses made up $24,000 below budget, primarily not filling some open positions. Or growing in faith, we were $10,000 below budget for the year, due to not filling the faith formation assistant position. And then programs, ministry, and education were below budget by $3,000. So page 5, this is where we ended up for the year. So when you take a look at our receipts of $560,000, as well as our spend of $545,000, we generated a surplus of $14,500 for the year. It also provided a perspective of where we were for the last 3 years. So in December of 20, we generated a surplus of nearly $20,000. And then in the previous 2 years, when you net those out, generated a surplus of $17,000. So all things considered, over the last 4 years, this church has generated an operating surplus of $50,000, which I think is pretty impressive, given the fact that we went through a pandemic as well as, raising money for the church as well. And page 6, this is just a numerical representation of what we just went over. It just shows you the different categories. Again, operating income coming in, just a little bit over $25,000 below budget. When you look at the different categories there, rooted in Christ, growing in faith, reaching to invite and serve, mission support, those items were $40,000 below budget, resulting in the operating surplus of $14,500 for the year. Slide 7 here, this is our balance sheet at the end of the year. So on the asset side, we ended up with a cash balance of $395,000. We had a little bit of prepaids on the books for our insurance, which we pay in advance, as well as some praise band expenses for $7,000. Liabilities-wise, we have 2 loans. We've got the MIF construction loan on the books. That balance was $935,000 at the end of the year. And we also have the endowment fund loan, which is just shy of $50,000. Also important to note, we did pay off the parsonage loan in 2021. That was through the MIF construction loan. That was a condition on getting that loan, but that loan is no longer on the books. Then when you look at our dedicated funds, our operating reserve balance at the end of the year was $50,000. Our capital campaign fund, notice it has a negative balance of $535,000. That's just due to the difference of the cash that we have received from the campaign versus our expenses. In the materials, if you see at year end, we received about $1.7 million of the capital campaign that has been pledged, but our spend was about $2.3 million. That's what's generating that deficit of $535,000. And then the other dedicated funds, make up $82,000, the Memorial Fund, the Organ Fund, and the Youth Committee. So page 8, this goes into our 2022 budget. Council has recommended an operating budget of $618,000. This is an increase of about $33,000 or 5% compared to the 2021 operating budget. Some of our key assumptions that we have put in the budget is that we will be in person throughout 2022, and so no remote services are planned. We also, from a staffing perspective, assume that we will have 2 pastors on staff. We will have full-time music director as well as praise band participation. Our office manager will remain full-time. Our custodian position, which has not been filled since Maria left, we have filled it with part-time, but in the budget, we now have it being filled full-time in June of 2021. The faith formation assistant will still remain open. We did not budget any monies for that role in 2022. And then no other new staff positions were contemplated in the budget. And also we expect our programs as well as our outreach to be back at full support for 2022. So slide 9 here, this illustrates our 2022 spend by category versus the 2021 budget, as well as the 2021 actuals. When you look at some of the key components, mission supports, this is always the largest spend. And we have budgeted $449,000 for 2022, or about 73% of our operating budget. So this includes our pastoral salaries, church staff, building maintenance, insurance, and then one new category for this year is the interest that we will have on the Rejoice and Renew loan. And so if you look in 2021, we spent about $386,000 in this category, and we're anticipating to spend $449,000, but $56,000 of that increase just relates to the interest and principal that we will be paying on the Rejoice and Renew loan. And we've also put in some cost of living increases for the staff of 3%, which is generating that remaining difference. Then you look at some of the other categories rooted in Christ. So this is our music staff, our praise band, as well as the worship and music committee. Our spend in 2021 was $80,000. We have budgeted to spend $87,000 for 2022. And this is just for us getting back to full services. If you remember last spring in 2021, we were still remote, and now our 2022 budget has the praise band participating throughout the spring here, as well as full services in 2022. And that's the same for the growing in faith and the reaching to invite and serve categories. Slight increases in spend there from 2021, about a little bit over $1,000, but expect those back to be full in 2022. And then our ELCA contribution, we kept flat at $55,250 for the year. So page 10, these are just some ways to make some, greater impact. One way is, moving the weekly offerings to EFT. I know Pastor Ron and Pastor Anna are great, are always communicating, going to the website. But if you do have the ability to be able to have those drawn, weekly for EFT, provides a great consistency in our offerings to the church. Also, too, if there's an ability to, accelerate any, rejoice and renew commitments, as mentioned, we always knew, which is why we, entered into debt, that, it would take us a little bit longer to catch up on our cash contributions from the pledges versus the spend. But any way that our members can accelerate those, will certainly be very beneficial. Also, too, moving the payments online from credit card payments to bank accounts. Vanco just charges a little bit higher fee for credit card donations versus having it drawn directly from your bank account. Being the finance nerd that I am, we would have saved approximately $800 in fees if we would have converted all credit card payments to bank. So if you have that ability, it's just an extra $800 that we can have to the church. And then lastly, of course, the church will accept any stock or equity donations as well. But these are all just 4 ways to make a greater impact for us. Then lastly, on page 11 here, just want to give a couple thanks. Special thanks to Lori Heyer. She's our financial secretary, so she has to account for all the contributions, and especially during a capital campaign. And also Ted Manigo, he's been spending a lot of time in the ditch counting the cash during the pandemic. So, appreciate him continuing to come and in accounting, and also to the church staff. Joan and Amy do a lot of the behind-the-scenes bookkeeping activities that make my job a lot easier. And then lastly, the finance committee, Christy, Chuck, Ted, and Doug, they provide really good governance to the church every year. And that concludes the budget presentation for 2022.
And thank you, Pat, for your service. It is not an easy job, and we definitely appreciate you. So hearing no more discussion, I'll now call for a vote to adopt the budget as Pat and the documentation proposed. All in favor, please say yes. Yes. All opposed, please say no. The motion carries and the budget is adopted. Our next and really final order of business before discussion is the discussion and adoption of the new Constitution. For a number of years, our congregation constitution has been badly out of date. So last year, the Congregational Council asked Chip Johnson, Judy Samuelin, and Tom Connolly to work on a new constitution that both conforms to the requirements of the ELCA and matches up with our current practices. They did a really outstanding job on this effort. This was also thankless and tireless work, many pages, many details, many versions, very, very careful, important documentation for this important document for the future of our church. So I want to thank them for their terrific work there. The council has approved, they proposed that final constitution in November. The Congregational Council has approved that constitution, and we now recommend it for your approval. First, I'll call on a motion to accept the Constitution as proposed, and then I will call on Chip Johnson to come forward and talk about the new Constitution and answer any questions that you may have. May I get a motion? Bill Edwards, second, Tony Hall. And may I ask Chip, please, to come forward with his presentation regarding the Constitution.
Back again. Just to talk about this process, it actually started probably 3 years ago when I went to a synod convention, the Chicago one, and we went to the Constitution portion of it and found out that ours was so outdated, it was incredible. And the person that I heard at that was Pastor Aaron Clausen. And so then I came back, but then things got pushed aside. Well, anyway, in the last year, I have talked to Pastor Clausen, who is the guru of the constitutions. And she was just wonderful. She said about our process for doing this and how to do this, write the new one. And the basic thing is, it really isn't a new constitution, but it maybe technically is somewhat. What it is we are adopting the brand new ELCA recommended constitution, plus the parts that are specific to us in our congregation. And so this process, working with her, and then it was with obviously Tom and Judy, and once in a while Ron would step in, but very, very minor, to be very honest. And of course Joan Halvey, who typed all of this. And so we went through, basically the three of us went through the Constitution page by page, line by line, comparing the recommended and with our current Constitution, which actually is about 30 years old from the beginning of it. And so we went through that. We made a recommendation, but before I could give it to before our committee could give it to council, we had to turn it into Erin Clausen. And that was actually, she was helping us out. So she reviewed it and she said, it looks fine. And so then it could go to council. Then it has to go to the congregation. Once, hopefully, we approve it today, it will then go to the synod. And the synod has to approve it, and that'll take 2 or 3 months, I would think, if not longer. And then the process is complete. So that's how the process went, and it certainly was time-consuming and sometimes boring, but very interesting. And we did make some changes to what we normally have been doing. We put those out in the executive summary that was sent out to everyone. Also, just so you know, when you read the Constitution, if any of you did, there's an asterisk in front of so many of the numbers. You are not allowed to change one iota, one letter in that. That is what the synod requires. And so that's the procedure that we followed and we went along with. So with that, I would like any follow-up questions, any concerns, any likes, any dislikes. The one thing you do need to know, however, is that the Constitution as presented today cannot be changed at all. You can't change any words in it. The congregation has to vote on that. If people are concerned about anything and want to come back and amend it at a different time, there is a complete amendment procedure, which we've always had, and that would be a way to change this particular document in the future, whether it be continuing resolutions or the bylaws. So that's, fire away, people, if there are any questions. It'd be nice if none, but I know it isn't the best of reading, but it's important for our congregation to have a current, up-to-date Constitution. And, you know, one of the big things we added to this, which actually was required, I believe, by the Synod, is the Zoom meetings and all the off-site so people can come back. We didn't have that in our other Constitution, even though we claimed state law in that case when we did that in the past. So that is, no questions. Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
And again, thank you, Chip, Tom, and Judy for all of your tireless work. Hearing no more discussion about the Constitution, I will now call on a vote to adopt the new Constitution as it is proposed. All in favor say yes. Yes. All opposed say no. The motion carries and the new Constitution is adopted. Okay, let's hear the online question before we.
Are you talking to me, Dave Wyman?
We're good? Okay, thank you. So that concludes the business of the agenda for our annual meeting. I would like to ask if there is any discussion or sharing and open regarding any other topic and open it to the floor for discussion. No further discussion? Anything online? Okay. And if there is no further discussion, I will entertain a motion that today's meeting be adjourned. Chip Johnson? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Chip Johnson made the motion, and Bill Edwards made the second. All in favor of adjourning today's annual meeting, please say yes. All opposed, please say no. I declare that the annual congregational meeting is now adjourned. Let's please stand and close with the Lord's Prayer together.
I did make fresh coffee.
And there is fresh coffee for those to grab on the way out. Thank you very much. And our beautiful coffee bar. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you.